Hi everyone, my name is Sydney and today we're going to be discussing the second and third book in Amanda Lovelace's poetry book collection, The Women Are Some Kind of Magic. So within this poetry collection there are 3 books. The first book is called The Princess Saves Herself in this one. I have a review on that which I'll leave down below. The second book, The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one. Third book, The Mermaid's Voice Returns in this one. I thought I would just combine this video to be about the last 2 books in this series because I recently read them both and I have a few things I want to say. So I will start off by saying that I really don't love this series. My opinion is valid, just the same as yours is, so if you loved these books, please don't feel like I'm trashing on them. This is just my personal opinion, so I am going to go into why I disliked them. I love the concept for both of these books, but I think that Amanda went about them in a way that wasn't strong enough, that it ended up feeling a bit lazy, very repetitive. Her choice of words could have been a lot more bolder. The thing that I really like about these 3 books, but also in regards to her other series, is she has this fascination with fairy tales, and I think it's really wonderful of her to bring this element of fairy tales into these poetry books in order to share a message with us. But as I said, as a whole, I did feel like these books came short. So I'm going to just dive straight into it by starting with the second book. So if you haven't read these books, feel free to go read them for yourself to make your own opinion, come back and we can talk. Or if you don't mind being spoiled, feel free to stay. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. So The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one. I shouldn't say hate. Hate is a very strong word, but this book out of the 3 was the one that frustrated me to my core. I really didn't want to say that, but it just did. Her choice of words, the amount of compounds in these poems, got to a point where I wanted to just exit the chat room. She used bitch and fire together. She used tree man, truth talking. It was too much. I think Amanda Lovelace has beautiful imagery within her poems and she's a very good storyteller. I feel like if she went down the route of writing fiction novels or a series, she would probably be very good. But in regards to poems, I feel like Amanda has a similar issue towards Rupi Kaur's books where she thinks a poem could be a sentence, like a Tumblr quote, and sometimes I like them if they're really strong. If they're really strong that make me go oof immediately. I get torn towards whether that should be seen as a poem or a quote. And Amanda Lovelace definitely does this within her books, which I'm not a huge fan of. But mainly what I'm trying to say is sometimes I feel like her choice of wording is very childish. These poems just feel very small when they could be so much grander. So this is one of the poems. I may not survive the match boys already is one, but my bitch fire will survive them all. Now can we just take a moment to look at this line? I may not survive the match boys, but my bitch fire will survive them all. It just doesn't sound good. To me anyway, it doesn't sound good. I feel like she could have said, I may not survive those who feel as if they're superior to me, but my flame is strong. I know I can survive them all. I feel like the issue with Amanda is there's different ways of addressing things. And unfortunately, she brings them to life in a way that's lazy, boring, unoriginal. And as the book continues on, it just feeds repetition, which becomes annoying. I'll just put this disclaimer out there that this book is quite intense, that it does revolve around being a rape victim. I felt like this book was very feminist as well. I think we all should be advocating for feminism, whether you are a woman or a man. Feminism is all about equality. And I really dislike when people fear to say that they're a feminist because they don't want people to think that just because they're a female that it means they want to be superior to the male. That is not what it means, and I hope that if you're a female or if you're a male, whatever your pronouns are, I think that it's so important to be proud and say you are a feminist. And why would you not want to stand up for equality? I don't understand that. Now, within saying that, the whole aim of this book was to empower, but I felt like it was just attacking that made it very frustrating to read. The way she's addressing it, the way she's articulating herself, it's not written in a way that makes you want to join her. Putting the bad stuff aside, yes, there were some good poems. The boys who spend all their days finger fiddling with matchsticks line us up and proceed to stick tiny yellow and black truth-telling flowers between our teeth. One by one they ask us if we know what crime we're guilty of. After a brief pause to gather our thoughts, we say the only thing we're guilty of is being women. This is simultaneously the right and wrong answer. To the match boys, our existence is the darkest form of magic, usually punishable by death. They don't even know what's coming. How cute. We shouldn't be afraid of them. No, no, no. They should be afraid of us. The first lesson in Fire. She's using witches as her image for confidence and bravery to fight back. There's this sense of fighting back, empowerment. So for this poem, I enjoyed that. This was another poem I really liked. Women learn to sense who danger looks like just by catching another woman's eye from across a crowded room. Survival. And I really liked this one because being a woman, there is this unspoken language in the air without having to say anything. So I think this is a great poem to bring up, especially now because of everything that's been going on in the news. Women are standing up for their rights of being a woman, but we should be allowed to walk home at night and not be afraid. Men should respect women. I hate that this hashtag going around, not all men, is something that has been brought up as well. It brings a lot of fire, a lot of rage within me because the issue is men. By categorizing men, we aren't talking about all men being murderers and rapists. That is not what we're talking about. We are categorizing men because when there is a woman who has been a victim of rape, who has been murdered, it has a majority of the time been by a man. When a male says to you, but I'm scared to walk home at night, and I'm a male, so can you ask yourself the question, who are you scared of at night when you're a male, you're walking home? Who are you scared of is going to attack you? And that answer is probably going to be a male rather than a female, right? Unfortunately, there are still so many ignorant people out there who do not understand what being a woman, what we have had to go through our entire life of being catcalled, fighting for our rights, of fighting for equality, holding our keys in a specific way when we walk home, how we protect ourselves. And this shouldn't be something normalized. Don't wear that out. You're asking for it. Like, it's so frustrating. And again, I just want to bring myself back to the point of being a feminist is a good thing. It affects everybody. And I think if you have a voice, use it. Use it for good. Use it to share knowledge, to bring people up in order to bring everyone up. I think if you're not fired up about this issue, this topic, you should be. And you should be using your voice if you have one. I'm not trying to attack, so please don't think I'm trying to attack you. I just think it's so important to talk about. And if me talking about it, you listening, can make a difference, then that is what I aim for. With every post, every video, whatever it may be, I forever wish to walk and speak my truth to better this earth. Alright, so let's move on. Let's get back to ranting about the book. So another thing that I dislike within Amanda's books is she does draw reference to other fictional stories. For example, in this book, she does refer to the Hunger Games, she does refer to Katniss, which is very fitting because I just finished the series and I'm currently reading the latest book book, The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, which so far I'm loving, if I can just say. I don't know what's gonna happen and I don't know why people think it's bad. I'm excited to see. No spoilers, no spoilers. I personally don't like when poetry books reference other fictional books, because there's a reason this fictional character has been created in another story, and that's theirs. That should only belong to them. If you're creating a story, yes, you can be inspired by others, like Amanda Lovelace is obviously inspired by fairy tales, Cinderella, blah, 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 blah. But I think referencing them in a poem is not a poem to me. Within the introduction, Amanda Lovelace does credit Katniss Everdeen for the symbol of what she is: courage, bravery, strength. There's this poem, in our bellies, fire, 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 and sometimes not much else. These are the real Hunger Games. In our hands, embers, 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 just waiting for the opportunity to ignite. Catching fire is so, so easy. I don't like when poetry books have a reference to another. It doesn't sit well with me. I don't know if I'm the only one who feels that way. It speaks unoriginality, and I don't think it's fair. We have another one in here. Amanda references The Handmaid's Tale. They can hand us folded dresses. They can gift us virgin wings. They can force on us their names. They can lock us in small rooms. They can thieve our words, they can attempt to take our choices too. But the one thing they can never steal, this fierce determination. What June taught me. The poem, not so bad. It's actually alright. But why do we need that reference? Why? These are fictional characters. Why don't you bring in real people and talk about them as role models? Survivors. Please let me know what you think on that. This poem. I don't wear makeup for others the same way I don't decorate my house for others. This is my home and everything I do is for me. Tweet from September 28th, 2016. Did your girl seriously just put a fucking tweet in here as a poem? What has the world come to? This is not a poem, or at least leave out the fact that you made it a tweet. Like, it's just... What are you doing? What are you doing? So the last poem I want to talk about was just frustrating. So every time I say comma, this is in a bracket. You gentle, comma, strong, comma, resilient, comma, deadly creature, comma, you, period. You are an unstoppable force. Why would you put comma in the brackets? Like, it doesn't give it oomph, it just gives it this... Oh, I don't like it. I don't like it. So, to wrap up this book, disliked it. Definitely the worst one out of the three, in my opinion. I just found this book unoriginal. The references really pissed me off. The way she was writing pissed me off in regards to the compound words. And it's just upsetting because the concept, the theme of this particular book is fantastic. It's a really good one. You would rather want these poems to empower you. It really just left me frustrated and angry at the way she was articulating herself. So I think that these poems could have been written much better. And before we go into the third book, I do think they did get a bit better, but I still didn't enjoy them. So that was my thoughts on the second book. Let's go into the last book within this series. The Mermaid's voice returns in this one. So I also didn't like this book. Surprise, surprise. The concept of this book, again, is fantastic. It's so great to use Ariel, the Little Mermaid, as inspiration for this story. It's basically all about using your voice. We all have a voice. Let's use it. Let's not be silenced for being a woman, for all these things that have happened to you, being a victim of this or that. I really respected that as a theme, as a message within this particular poetry book. Now, again, that being said, I think that she could have used that message in a much better, bolder way. There were some poems I did enjoy. They were written by other poets, because within this book she has collaborated with others and has allowed them to share their stories in here. It's not like this poetry book is a collaboration. It just has Amanda's name on the front cover. It was kind of awkward that the poems I did really enjoy were poems by other people. Also, we have a foreword that was written by Lang Leave. I've only read one book by Lang and I really didn't like it. I really liked Lang's forward. I thought it was written really beautifully. The thing I liked about this poetry book was she didn't use as many compound words as she did in the last book, which thank you. Thank you. I really enjoyed this poem. It should be safe for little girls to ride their little yellow bikes around the block without someone ending up in handcuffs. Wanted. I really like how she blocked half of the poem out as well, so it just says, it should be safe for little girls. I also really liked this one. Whenever you need a healthy dose of serenity, crawl through the frosted window pane of her mind. Blades of grass grow in shades of paradise. Opals droop from branches instead of leaves. Rivers flow with undiluted rosebud water. Milk and honey falls from the clouds instead of rain. Even the absolutely unthinkable happens here. Children learn peacefully, unafraid of angry hands around guns. Hooks encrusted in sand. You create the world in which you live in. It really gives me that image. Majority of our fears have been man-made, and how can we live our lives fearlessly? I think this poem's great. I really enjoyed it. So I'm just going to talk about it again, that I don't like references in poetry. She references Hogwarts. She's talking about waiting for her letter. This is not poetry. This should not be here. So this is one of my favorite poems in here, and it wasn't even hers. This poem was by Morgan Nicola Wren. But you will grow stronger, grow wiser, grow the courage to look down and see yourself in pieces at your own feet. Dare to send your fingers dancing through the shards before you pick them up and call them poetry. Call them a new song. Call them screaming in your car with the windows up. And after you have emptied your throat of all the pain that finally pulled itself from your tongue, you will feel your lungs fill themselves with the kind of healing that you summoned all the way from wherever miracles are made. Then you'll breathe it back out, feel it spilling into your story. You will pour words into your wounds like salt water, like the sound of saying what has happened can feel the gashes left courtesy of cruelty. And it will, well enough. And in time you will find that while you cannot scrub the scars from your skin, you can rearrange them into something like maps. Soft and webbed and patiently waiting for you to trace them through all your mad, wild mending. One breath at a time. If you compare this to every other poem I just said, this is great. This is fantastic. The imagery here, how it's written, it's not lazy, it's descriptive. There's a story, I can follow it, I can empathize with it, it's strong, it's bold. So, in conclusion, the third book was better than the second, but the third book still had a lot of repetition. The poems I really enjoyed weren't even hers. I think Amanda Lovelace's, her concepts, her themes are fantastic. But I think she just has to work with maybe using different words to be a lot more engaging with her readers, to be bolder rather than lazy and too simple. I definitely want to still go along this Amanda Lovelace train and read her other series, which I think follows Cinderella, still on this fairy tale vibe. I want to read them because I've heard that they are much better than this series, and I'm really hoping that they're much better. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave a comment on how you felt about these books. I hope that you enjoyed them if you got to read them. I'll see you guys in my next video super soon, hopefully. So as usual, bye!